Welcome back to the channel. This is Trinity Storm and you are watching fourth part of What If Naruto Has a Counter Personality. If you enjoy this video, please like, share and subscribe to the channel. Now wasting no more time, let's start the story.
So it's been a year since Naruto suddenly grew up or changed into someone else. He wasn't sure yet. The important thing was that, according to his memories from another world, Sasuke and Orochimaru should have already left by this time with Sasuke. But he killed Orochimaru, his guards, and Kabuto after getting all the information he could from their minds. He was the only one who knew how to bring Orochimaru back, but he wouldn't do it because he had destroyed all the cursed seals he had found. Even without awakening Asura's power, if he fought the Naruto from his memories in the final battle of the Fourth Ninja War, he would beat him easily because he was 1,000 times better at controlling his chakra and had access to the 8 gates. With the help of Kurama, who pushed him to go beyond his limits and train up to 4 times more than a normal ninja would be able to handle, he was already able to open the 4th gate without any effort in the 6th gate in an hour. Naruto didn't just use his strength and raw power. He had become immune to genjutsu by making it so that other people couldn't control his chakra. He did this by making an artifact that spread out the effects of other people's chakra on him. Hinata was the one he used to test this, and if she couldn't see his chakra, neither could the Sharingan. Also, he was still using his chakra pacemaker, which was set off by a chakra discharge if his chakra flow was ever stopped for more than half a second. DNA research had been going on for more than 3 months, and thanks to what chakra could do for research, it was moving along quickly. Orochimaru's research on cells helped him move quickly on his plan to make a seal like the Dharma mark, but he went one step further. He wasn't the only one who had moved up this year. The vengeful Emo had awakened 3 Tomo, and since he always trained with him and got chakra from Kurama, he was much stronger than the Sasuke he remembered after a year of training. Sakura, on the other hand, was a skilled medical ninja who, like the Gold and Silver brothers, was able to copy Kurama's chakra. But in the process, they lost their own chakra. Sakura, on the other hand, was able to control it so that her copy didn't damage her own essence. Only ninja with a lot of control over their chakra could do this. Sakura's skills got Tsunade's attention, and she took her on as an apprentice, even though she didn't have much else to teach her besides her own jutsu. Kakashi was also different because he could control his Sharingan. This made him a cage-level ninja and gave him a lot more stamina in battle. As for the Leaf Village itself, it changed the most when it broke away from Danzo and gained the support of the vengeful Emo, Sakura, and Kakashi as well. With all of these changes, another year went by, and Naruto was already able to use the power of the 6th gate without any trouble and use the power of the 8th gate for at least 20 minutes. This was already better than Guy, but there was a catch: he could only do it by using Kurama's chakra mode. Without Kurama's help, he could only reach the 4th gate safely, and if he opened the 8th gate, bad things would happen. But this wasn't the most important thing he'd done in the last year. A year and 3 months into his research on how chakra could be used to change DNA, 10,000 clones were working tirelessly day and night. Their work ranged from the Sharingan, which could change reality, to Genjutsu, which is known for controlling chakra, to more mundane things like studying retroviruses and DNA. But he always got the most help from simple jutsu that could turn chakra, a form of energy, into matter. This is important because being able to turn chakra into matter opened up a lot of options. That was the last step for his 10,000 clones. Now, Naruto was in the office of the Hokage, looking at his guinea pigs. "Hokage-sama, this guy doesn't mean any good," Sakura yelled as she looked at him from in front of the Hokage's desk. Naruto, who was sitting to the left of Tsunade's chair, stopped thinking and smiled at Sakura. Sakura wasn't the only one there. Sasuke, Kakashi, Guy, and Rock Lee were also there. "Hokage-sama, it's clear that this is a meeting of Team 7, Guy said. "Rock Lee, let's not break up the meeting the others are having." Guy added, "We must keep training for the sake of the youth." He tried to leave, but when Tsunade saw her subordinates running away, she slammed her fist into the desk and broke it in half. This was her 18th desk, and Guy was startled and went back to his seat. Tsunade scolded, "I called you here because you are the hope of this village. Since you are the hope of this village, I have decided that you will benefit from the results of our research." Guy said, A ninja shouldn't depend on outside things, and Rock Lee nodded. Naruto pulled out a bottle of something green. Rock Lee, if you take this, you'll be able to shape chakra like any other ninja, and your body won't be weaker than mine. You will have a lot of chakra reserves and be able to heal and grow back in a very special way. You'll have the perfect body for a fighter, Naruto said as he pulled out another bottle of a darker green. Guy, this will do the same for you, but it's different from Lee's because you don't need to mold chakra, he added, and both Guy and Rock Lee went limp. Rock Lee looked at Guy and said, "That's impossible." Guy nodded in a dazed way. Naruto smiled and gave them the 2 vials. "Take them," Tsunade said. "I've tested their effects on some of your samples, and they won't hurt you," she said. Both ninjas took the vials in their hands, which were shaking, and swallowed them. Naruto pulled out 3 more vials, a red one, a blue one, and a pink one. "Sasuke, this will free your eyes from your emotions and feelings, letting you use their power when your body can handle it. It will also improve your ability to heal and regenerate. Trust me, you'll need it in the future," said Naruto. "It would also fix your genetic tendency to go crazy by separating your emotions from the Sharingan and making it hereditary. So, Uchiha of the future would be different from those of the past." Sasuke took what was inside without asking any questions or looking at anyone. Since he found out the truth about what happened to his clan, he couldn't decide what he wanted to do or if he should do anything about it. However, he didn't stop trying to get stronger. Sakura grimaced and crossed her arms, showing that she was not going to change her mind. Naruto looked at Kakashi and handed the blue bottle to him. "Kakashi-sensei, this won't make you a Uchiha, but it will give you similar control over your eyes, and it has the same effect as Sasuke's serum, since, if I'm not mistaken, using high-level eye jutsus also hurts that eye," Naruto said. Kakashi sighed and then took the serum. Naruto looked at Sakura, who had her head up like she was waiting for him. Sakura said, "I don't need any enhancements," and Naruto just shrugged. "Well, if that's what you want to do, I can't stop you. However, this is made from Hashirama cells, and anyone who takes one of these serums is guaranteed to stay young for at least 100 years. Before Naruto could finish speaking, Tsunade and Sakura rushed for the vial. "Master, Naruto made this for me," Sakura said, clutching the jar next to Tsunade. Naruto smiled and pulled out 2 more jars, one for Tsunade and one for Shizune. Neither of them hesitated to take one. The only one who was not present in the place was Jiraiya, because as always he was out of the village, in espionage and research work, but Naruto knew that he would also be happy to take a serum that would return his youth, and it was one of the genetic samples that he had taken, so that his clones could make a serum for him. "The effects should be clear in 24 hours, Naruto said, and then he used the jutsu for moving through space to go back to his lab. He made this jutsu on his own, using the jutsu of the Flying Thunder God, which he could use after becoming Root Chief. Having the Hokage on his side also helped quite a bit. Now Naruto understood how Danzo gained so much power. A few minutes later, Naruto was in front of 2 capsules, to which hundreds of wires and pipes were connected. The capsules were on the floor, horizontally, and the small room of 3 by 3 was full of devices, from where the pipes and cables came out, to connect to the capsules. "Won't you wait for the serum to take effect on them?" asked Kurama. "I have already tested it on their tissues, and by giving it to them, I have verified that it is stable, even in a complete body. There is nothing more to test. The rewrite serum is complete, and it is time to rewrite my own body, applying all my research," said Naruto. Even so, he hesitated a little as he entered one of the capsules, but only for a few seconds. Then he took off his clothes, and got into the capsule to close the lid, and put on a mask, while it was flooded with a red liquid. 3 days later, Naruto came out of one of the capsules, but he was not the only one, and from the other capsule, a red-eyed Naruto came out, who was about 5 centimeters shorter than him. They both nodded to indicate that everything was in order. "I must continue with my training to get used to this new body," said Naruto. Kurama, who was the red-eyed Naruto, grimaced. "That means I have to work for you now," Kurama said. "Hey, I gave you my body, so try to be a little more appreciative." Naruto told Kurama, "Your job isn't hard either. All you have to do is bring me a sample of the other Biju's chakra." Kurama grunted, but he moved to where his clothes were and started putting them on. Naruto moved through the space and fell into his room, where he landed on his big bed. He groaned and got up. His chakra control was terrible because he felt like he was missing a part of himself without Kurama. When he looked in the full-length mirror next to his bed, he noticed that he no longer had the fox whiskers on his cheeks. He sighed. He felt like a stranger to himself. Next, Naruto went to his private training ground and, even though he had more chakra than before and this chakra was his alone, it was hard for him to make 500 clones. Seeing the results, all the clones immediately started practicing chakra control to get used to their new abilities and pure chakra. On the other hand, this body was the peak of the current ninja world. It had a chakra capacity that even Kurama could not surpass in his current incomplete form, as half of him was still sealed. Naruto wondered if he would have more chakra than Kisame of the Mist. But chakra was only a backup. He had adapted the Hashirama cells, integrating them completely into his own DNA, so they were not an external element, but part of him. Other things he integrated into his new body were the Kekkei Genkei Uzumaki, which further enhanced his chakra. The Sharingan and White Eye were also integrated and upgraded, forming what he called the Ultimate Eye, to which he planned to add Rinnegan as well. With the Sharingan and White Eye integrated, he was now the most fearsome genjutsu user in this ninja world. Though he lacked experience, power was something he did not lack. Other improvements, and the ones he valued the most, were the integration of the bloodline of the Sakin and Yukon brothers into his new body. Along with his enhancements, which made him the most powerful retrovirus in this world, it allowed him to modify his body and adapt it with improvements without the need to go to his lab. Whenever he found something interesting, he could adapt it in a matter of minutes. The other improvement was the integration of the Jugo bloodline, which Orochimaru had used to create his cursed seal, giving its users something similar to Sage Mode, though less powerful as it was an incomplete jutsu. The reason Naruto had integrated this bloodline into his new body was, of course, the ability to gather natural energy at will and at any time to activate Sage Mode without relying on Kurama. However, it was now too dangerous to practice it. He had to master his new body first. By midnight, he had more than 10,000 clones, and he used the Flying Thunder God jutsu to move his real body very quickly. Naruto, satisfied that he had adapted to his new body, moved towards the center of his clones and felt the natural energy around him. This did not even take him a second, and his new body instantly adopted Sage Mode. Naruto controlled the natural energy in his body as if it were part of him, absorbing it from the environment to restore his own chakra and physical state. Naruto smiled, as his abilities using Sage Mode and his own chakra were not inferior to when he used Kurama's chakra mode along with Sage Mode. His new body, which was a hybrid with 80% Hashirama cells and 15% Uzumaki, was 1,000 times more resilient and adapted to physical combat than before. On the other hand, these were only his physical enhancements, as Naruto knew they were only half the way. If he wanted to overcome the power of the Otsutsukis, he had to fuse the bloodlines of Indra and Asura first, and then the bloodline of the Hyuga clan, which he had already done by having both Sasuke and Hinata, not forgetting the samples he took from Kakashi's eye. These were all the materials he used in his research. 3 hours after exercising in Sage Mode, Naruto looked around. "It's time to test my eyes," said Naruto with a big smile. His clones, who were doing all kinds of exercises and practicing jutsus, smiled and gave him a thumbs up, knowing what his first target would be. Naruto disappeared in a small reality-distorting whirlpool and appeared in a room of oriental design. The room was 6 meters wide and 8 meters long. It was fully furnished, but Naruto paid no attention to the cabinets or sofas, he went straight to the large bed. On the bed, slept a girl, barely a teenager, with shoulder-length hair. He could tell she was letting it grow. The girl woke up when she felt him approaching her bed and got up to activate her white eye, but then stopped. She remained seated and her eyes deactivated at the sight of him. "Naruto," she said in a terrified whisper, looking around. Naruto didn't care that she was scared. He jumped onto the bed and sat next to her. He gave her a hug and a kiss on the lips. Naruto told Hinata, "You look beautiful in those white robes." Hinata's face turned red. Hinata said in a scared whisper, "Naruto, you need to leave as soon as possible." Naruto asked Hinata, "Do you want me to leave?" Hinata dipped her head and quickly said, "No." "Then I'll keep hugging you for the rest of the night," Naruto said, lowering his head to give her another kiss on the lips. Hinata bit her lips, but after a minute she put her arms around his chest and held on tight. "What did you do to get in?" she asked nervously. "I'm done with my research. I could sneak into this place before, but your father knows I can use the Thunder God's jutsu, so he set up alarms. I can get around them, but I wanted to wait until now to go in," Naruto said. "Hinata, I have a gift for you," he said, changing the subject. He reached into his side and pulled out a white vial. "This is part of my research, and it will give you a body better than any ninja since Agoromo, but I have split it up into several doses so you can get used to it," he said. Hinata was scared and looked at him. Naruto shook his head. "It is not something implanted. These changes will become part of you at all levels, and you will be able to control them in the same way you control your own body. The only thing you will notice is that you become stronger," Naruto explained. "Also, this will keep you young, so you will always be the most beautiful woman in this world, just as you are now," Naruto whispered in her ear. Hinata froze and couldn't say anything for several minutes. Then she looked at him with a pout, took the vial and swallowed the serum. "You're such a jerk." Hinata told him off for making fun of her all the time, but then she hugged him again. "What kind of jutsu was that, Naruto?" Hinata asked, referring to the space jutsu she had used to get the vial with the serum out. Naruto moved her away from his chest and told her to look into his eyes. Naruto's eyes changed, acquiring a luminous white in the center, where his pupil and iris would be, while the rest darkened to a pure black. "This is the ultimate dojutsu, which combines the Sharingan and Byakugan at the moment. Part of its power is that it can create new dimensions." Hinata was shocked and asked, "Did you make a bloodline for yourself?" Naruto laughed. "Not just for me, but for you as well." Naruto said, "Your future husband is a genius." Hinata smiled and gave him another hug. Naruto smiled even bigger because Kurama wasn't there to tell him off for being arrogant. Actually, his research on his bloodline was missing the Rinnegan, a sample of the Tree of Life, and a sample of Ibiju's chakra. But that didn't mean his body was weak, because even Agoromo Otsutsuki couldn't compare to him in terms of potential. Still, Naruto wasn't at his level because he needed training. First, he had to master the 5 yin and yang natures of chakra. Then he could use the sage mode of the 6 paths. He would also be able to absorb chakra and control it to do ninjutsu without seals, the same way that the Otsutsuki do. A weakness inherited from Indra and Asura was the need to make seals and practice controlling chakra. Agoromo, Hamura, and Kaguya could use their chakra however they wanted, so ninjutsu didn't mean anything to them. Naruto was the closest thing to a Sutsuki or Kaguya in this world. He was made from the genes of Agoromo and Hamura, and each Sutsuki had his own path. But Naruto had a long way to go before he could get here. Still, this path would be 1,000 times easier than it was before. Naruto slept while hugging Hinata, and then, like a good thief, he left in the morning. Even though Hiyashi Haiga had his whole clan guarding his mansion, it would be easy for him to sneak up on Hinata's bed at night with his new eyes. On the same day, Naruto went into Sage Mode and made 30,000 clones of himself that were already in Sage Mode. All of his earlier clones were destroyed so that he could learn and grow. Only his chakra and nothing else helped him make these 30,000 clones. 10,000 of them practiced chakra control, and 7,000 of them practiced chakra nature, since he could now control all of the major chakra natures after combining bloodlines. 3,000 clones practiced taijutsu, and the last 10,000 took care of his duties as root chief and built a subway training ground under his current training ground. With Sage Mode and thousands of clones, it was easy to open a cave. Within an hour, they had made a cavern that was 3 kilometers long, 2 kilometers wide, and 300 meters deep. The hardest part was making sure no ninjutsu or Haiga could sneak in and spy on their army of clones. It took the clones a whole day to seal up the place, while some of their clones stayed on the surface to keep an eye out for curious people. The next day, their secret camp for training was ready. At first glance, it looked like only 2,000 clones were training, and only in chakra control. A month later, Naruto had already mastered all types of chakra, and controlling chakra was like breathing for him. He started to try to combine all of his chakra natures, but Kurama came back and gave him chakra samples from the other Bij, which stopped his training. Gaiki, the Hachibi, was the only one who agreed to help him with his plan. The others didn't agree with their fellow humans, and Kurama wasn't a good negotiator either, so he could only get samples of their chakra and went back to ask if he could beat them and drag them there. Only Naruto could blink. Such a fight would cause a big stir in the ninja world, bringing in enemies he didn't want to deal with yet and showing off how strong he was. Naruto could feel that something bad was going to happen, and he wondered if he shouldn't lock Kurama up. However, the fact that he went back to ask Kurama before making a scene was already a point in his favor. Naruto turned down her request because he had already given them an easy way out. If they wanted to be hurt, that was their choice. He wouldn't care if they died. Kurama had the most important thing, which was the samples of their chakra. With the Bij chakra samples in his hands, Naruto undid his shadow clones and made 50,000 new clones. He was good at controlling his chakras, so he only needed to learn how to control yin and yang to reach the wise mode of the 6 paths. Here, Kurama, take this, Naruto said as he gave Kurama a scroll.
Kurama said, on the edge of the village, there is a broken-down house with the Uzumaki clan symbol on it.
There, you'll find many masks of the gods of death. One of them is used to seal your other half. The jutsu you need to free it is in that scroll, Naruto said, and Kurama blinked in surprise. Kurama asked in a daze, how do you know all this? It was part of Orochimaru's research. If I hadn't been sleeping, you'd know, Naruto told him as he waved him away. Kurama, don't even think about making trouble, because if you do when an enemy comes to attack you, don't come begging for my help. Naruto said, I'm still too weak to fight them. Kurama looked at his 50,000 copies. Kurama said, you're a monster. And then walked away. Naruto rolled his eyes. All of his enemies were monsters, and fights where both sides were equal didn't interest him. Before fighting monsters, he would become a god, so he started training his body. His clones had already started practicing mastering the Bij Beast's chakra and yin and yang chakra. A month later, Naruto and his 50,000 copies started practicing fusing the 7 kinds of chakra. Naruto lay in bed with Hinata in his arms 3 years after he was reborn as Naruto and became a traveler from another world. Hinata was already 15 years old, and her body showed that she was a beautiful adult. She let her hair grow long enough that it reached her waist. She still had pale, smooth skin, and her features were still soft. Every day, she looked more beautiful. Hinata woke up and saw that he was looking at her. This made her blush. Nah, Hinata pouted and told Naruto, I've already told you that you can't come to my room. Naruto gave her a kiss on the lips, and she didn't try to stop him. She was so used to him sleeping there that when he came, she didn't even wake up. After kissing Hinata, Naruto told her, today I'll ask your father for your hand. Hinata shook, but then she nodded her head firmly. I'll call everyone together, Hinata said in a whisper. I'll be formal, Naruto said, knowing that she was worried. She gave him a hug. Another time, I'll beat up your clan elders, she said. Hinata gave him a few soft hits on the chest. Naruto, Sakura, and Ino all used the Flying Thunder God Jutsu to get to the Hokage's office at noon. Sasuke, Kakashi, Jiraiya, Kurenai, Kiba, Shino, Guy, Tenten, a gritting teeth Neji, Asuma, Shikamaru, Ji, Shizune, and Tsunade were all in the office. They all wore formal kimonos, and Tsunade wore her Hokage cloak and hat on top of her kimono. Naruto wore a white kimono that looked formal, and as soon as he walked in, Sakura and Ino rushed to fix the sleeves. Get ready, said Sakura and Ino at the same time, pointing at him with both hands. She's not a bride, and we've been waiting here for half an hour already, Shikamaru said with a bored expression. Shino was looking him up and down and said, I just want to know how he grows so much. I'll leave if there's no roast meat, Ji said. Sakura and Ino walked up to them and gave each one a light swat. After that, they went to Sasuke and each took one of his arms. Sakura, blushing, told Sasuke, "You look so handsome." Ino asked Sasuke, "When are you going to ask for my hand, too?" Sasuke just grunted, and both girls giggled shyly. This guy must have come up with a way to hypnotize women, thought Naruto. Jiraiya cleared his throat and said, "It's about time for my disciple to ask his girlfriend to marry him." Guy said, "The power of youth will help us break through." "I'll come in last," said Shikamaru. "As soon as we get there, I'll attack them," said Neji. "I don't think it was a good idea to bring him," said Kiba, realizing that Neji was a Hyuga and wouldn't like them asking for his princess's hand, since in his clan, relationships with people who weren't related to each other were forbidden. "Calm down," said Naruto, putting his hands in front of him. "First of all, this is a formal ceremony. We won't break through the Hyuga clan's doors to get in. There's no way they'll let them in." Neji gave a harsh sentence while folding his arms. Naruto gave a happy smile and put out his hand. Sasuke was the first to move forward, but instead of taking his hand, he put it on his shoulder. "As the groom, you have to go to the front," Sasuke told him. Jiraiya and Tsunade also put their hands on his shoulders, and the others lined up behind them. Neji grunted, but Guy grabbed him by the neck, and then the whole group disappeared in a reality-warping swirl. A short time ago. While Sakura and Ino finished making Naruto's clothes, Naruto used a clone and a mental transmission jutsu to keep an eye on what was going on in the Hyuga clan. Naruto was looking at a large, oriental-style wooden hall with a big table in the middle. Hyuga Hiyashi, the head of the Hyuga clan, sat at the head of the table with 3 other elders of the Hyuga clan. Hinata and her younger sister, Hanabi Hyuga, were sitting on one side of the table. They were all dressed up in formal kimonos, but Hinata's was the most beautiful. She looked like a goddess from long ago. "What does this mean?" she asked. Hiyashi scowled because Hinata had just sat down next to him a few seconds before, and it was clear that her dress wasn't right for a simple formal meeting to talk about official business. She was even wearing makeup. Hinata said, "Father, elders," in a formal tone, and gave a nod. Hiyashi scolded Hinata, "I am the head of the clan, and this is a formal meeting." He was annoyed that Hinata didn't follow the rules, first by showing up and now by calling him father instead of patriarch or clan head. He also didn't bow. Hinata said, "No," in a firm voice. "I've decided that I'll be the new clan leader as of today." "Please, Dad, move over, you're taking my place," Hinata said. Hiyashi, the older people, and Hanabi all looked at Hinata like she was a stranger. Hiyashi clenched his teeth and told Hinata, "You're not good enough to be the clan leader. Father, you once told me that being the strongest was the only requirement to be a clan leader. I was too weak to say anything, so I had to step aside. Now I'll tell you that I'm the strongest and you're the weakest, so you have to step aside without saying a word," Hinata said with a strong voice. Hiyashi blinked, but the elders stood up and made like they were ready to fight. I say, pretended, because Hinata had already stuck 20 chakra needles into each of their bodies before they could even try. They didn't know when they were attacked because they were shocked and couldn't use their chakra. They also had needles in their bodies. But Hiyashi, who was standing next to Hinata, seemed to see it and was so shocked that he couldn't move. "Father, even though I am the new clan leader, you are my elders, and I don't want to embarrass you, so please get up from my seat," Hinata said. Hiyashi looked back at the elders and quietly stood up. Hinata walked over to him and took Hiyashi's old seat at the head of the table. "Father, I am still young and I don't know everything about the clan and how it is run. If you and the elders agree, I will ask you to help me with this. But as of today, I'm going to make a lot of big changes in our clan." Hinata said to her father, who was sitting in the chair to her left, "I hope that if you accept my plan, you won't forget that you are only my advisors and that I will make the final decisions." Hiyashi thought for a moment, but then he took the seat that was offered to him and sat down. Hinata looked at the 3 older people. One of the elders asked, "What changes do you want to make in the clan?" the secondary branch's cursed seal will be broken. The difference between the main branch and the secondary branch will no longer exist. Everyone will have a place based on how good they are, Hinata said. The three elders were angry at Hinata as they looked at her. One of the elders growled, "We won't accept that, and we won't let you open the cursed seal. I don't need your help or permission with these things." Hinata told them, "Like I said before, you will only be my advisors." She then asked them to sit down. With this, she let them know that she could break the cursed seal without their help, which left the elders and Hiyashi speechless. Still, the older people straightened up and sat with their backs up. They took the jobs because Hinata met the requirements to take power by force, but they made it clear that they would not work together to make decisions. Hinata also told them very clearly that she didn't want their help, but they didn't believe her. Hanabi, who didn't have a job, saw that the atmosphere was tense and decided to sit next to her father so she wouldn't stand out. In this situation, Naruto and his group showed up 5 meters from the table after a minute and called everyone's attention. "Hokage-sama, what does this mean? What does this mean?" Hiyashi growled and turned around to see who had come up behind him. Hinata said, "Father, these are my guests," and she stood up and bowed to Tsunade. "Hokage-sama, please have your guests sit down. I knew you were coming. I welcome you as the leader of the Hyuga clan." Hinata said this, and the elders and Hiyashi knew that her coup d'état wasn't a fluke. Tsunade nodded and led her group to sit down at the table. She took the head instead of Hinata, and Naruto took her right hand along with Sakura and the other young people. Jiraiya and the JNIN sat on the left side of the boat. "Hokage-sama, why are you here? What brings you to our clan?" Hinata said this. Her father, sister, and the 3 elders all looked at her, and it was clear that they were there because she had invited them. As for Tsunade, she did nothing but nod. "Everyone knows that I am the first Hokage's granddaughter. Not many people know that my grandmother was in Uzumaki. She was related to Kushina Uzumaki, who was Naruto Uzumaki's mother. So, we would be related, and I would be one of his older people. Because of this, and because his mother isn't around, I'm here with him," Tsunade said. "Minato Namikaze, Naruto's father, was my student. He thought I was his dad, so I think of Naruto as my grandson. Since his father isn't here, I'm here to speak for him," Jiraiya said after Tsunade was done. "Head of the clan, the others are my guests and friends," Naruto said. Hinata gave a nod. Hinata asked, "So, what brings the root chief, along with his family and friends, to my clan?" "I, Naruto Uzumaki, have come to ask a Hyuga woman to be his wife. I heard I needed permission from the clan chief first, so I came here to ask for it," Naruto said. One of the elders couldn't finish what he was saying because Hinata was giving him a cold look. Hinata looked back at him, ignoring what he said. "That wasn't allowed before, but now that I'm the leader of the clan, I'll let it go." "You can ask for what you want," Hinata said, blushing a little. "Then I'll ask Hinata Hyuga for her hand," Naruto said with a smile. Hiyashi clenched his teeth, but he didn't say anything. Hinata looked at Neji and said, "I'll agree as long as you grant me one of my wishes." Hinata said, "I want my boyfriend to break the cursed seal of the secondary branch." Naruto was happy. "My fiancé's wish is in order for me," Naruto said and snapped his fingers with his right hand. Neji looked stunned, but when he snapped his fingers, he came to and winced as he took the bandage off his cursed seal, letting everyone see it. The seal looked normal, but in an instant, its lines went from green to black, a dirty black that turned into strands of chakra and then disappeared, leaving Neji's forehead smooth and unmarked. Except for Hinata and Neji, everyone at the table was amazed by Neji's forehead. Naruto found the cursed seal in Danzo's files, which was a good thing. Naruto knew a lot about it because Danzo used it as a model to make his own seal. He was able to break the seal because he studied all of the jutsu in Konoha. Tsunade let him do this because she was worried about what would happen to him after the Otsutsuki arrived. Naruto used a small piece of a truth-seeking ball and a dojutsu to destroy it. The dojutsu stopped the truth-seeking ball from taking over the chakra of its owner and destroying his mind. Hinata asked, "Brother Neji, how are you feeling?" But Neji was still in shock and couldn't accept his new life. Even the older people didn't get it, and they looked at him like he was crazy. Hiyashi was feeling a bit better, but he was still sad. Naruto knew that Hiyashi didn't like the cursed seal and wouldn't let it be used on his children or grandchildren. However, that wouldn't fix the fact that the Hyuga were split, because he never had enough power to do anything about it. Neji took a few seconds to get over the impact and then looked at Hinata and then Naruto. Hinata said to Neji, "Starting today, you and my sister will be the first Hyuga I train to take over the new clan jutsu I'm learning." Neji put his head down to hide his tears, while Guy and Rock Lee's noses were already running. Even though their team was a bunch of criers, it was still a sad time. Naruto waited for them to stop getting so upset. A few minutes later, Hinata looked at Naruto, and Naruto looked back at Hiyashi, who sighed. Since Hinata is now the leader of the Hyuga clan, she can't marry someone from another clan, Hiyashi said as a last-ditch effort. Naruto nodded to show that he understood. Hinata's clan didn't want her to marry outside of it because if she did, her children would have her husband's last name. This was not okay with her clan. With this, Naruto should be the one to marry into the clan and take her last name, so he would be Naruto Hyuga, and there would be no problem. However, few men in this world would accept such a thing, and Hiyashi used it as a last resort to get Naruto to back out. "Don't worry, father-in-law, my family already knows about this," Naruto said. Tsunade and Jiraiya nodded. "Father-in-law, I'll move here right now and call him Dad," Naruto said with confidence. Hiyashi looked at him in shock and had to work hard to stay calm. "That won't be necessary," Hiyashi said, trying to keep his temper in check. "Alright, then let's start the party," Naruto said. He looked at Hinata, who nodded and bowed her head. Naruto snapped his fingers, and a hole opened up in space. People with food, tables, decorations, and other things came through the hole. His friends knew that the formal tone was over, so Sakura, Ino, and Tenten ran quickly toward Hinata. Hinata said nervously, "Naruto, you have to go," as she looked at her bed out of the corner of her eye and then at him. "Hinata, you have very good instincts," Naruto said as he walked up to her with a big smile on his face. Nah, we can't, Naruto." He gave her a kiss on the lips. Naruto whispered in her ear, "You look beautiful," as he ran his hands over her body. Hinata cried out, and any resistance went away. In the morning, they were both naked and slept on Hinata's big bed. She put her head on his chest. Naruto groaned. "This is what it feels like to be the happiest person in the world," Naruto said, inhaling happiness. Hinata's face turned red, and she gently smacked his chest because she didn't know what to say. He kissed the top of her head. Hinata whispered, "Naruto, it's morning, the maids will be here soon," when she was able to speak again. Naruto groaned. Naruto sighed, "Hinata, we're getting married tomorrow." Hinata said nervously, "We'll get married in a year." Naruto said, "Well, at least it will be fun to sneak into this place at night." Hinata pounded on his chest, but she heard footsteps in the distance, so she grabbed a sheet and ran to change into her pajamas. Naruto grimaced and took his clothes reluctantly to go back to his own room. After cleaning up, he went back to his subway training ground, where Jiraiya, who hadn't seen him in a few months, was waiting. When Jiraiya saw him, he made her frown. "You brat, if Hiyashi Hyuga finds out, he'll use all his strength to cut off your balls," Jiraiya said with a sigh of resignation, more out of envy than despair. Naruto blinked, then gave a shoulder shrug. "It's not like he has any control over it. How else is he going to know?" "You know who I am, but he won't care," Naruto said. Jiraiya made another grimace. "Don't go on an official visit to the clan for a few months," Jiraiya told him. His mood was already low, and if he said anything, it would be to ask for more information. But he already knew that if he asked, Naruto would break his bones, so he didn't say anything about it. "Master, here you go," Naruto said as he waved his hand through space and pulled out a vial of red serum. "This is your last vial," Naruto told Jiraiya and Tsunade. Just like with Hinata, he had given them the full treatment. Jiraiya, on the other hand, had not finished it yet because he was always going outside the village. Jiraiya sighed and picked up the bottle. Jiraiya didn't look much different, but all the signs of age on his face were gone, and he looked like a man in his 30s or 40s. Naruto, your beauty treatment didn't work. Tsunade keeps kicking me every time she sees me, Jiraiya said with regret. Naruto clamped his teeth together and wanted to kick him. How you look isn't everything. Stop writing dirty things and snooping in public bathrooms, Naruto yelled angrily. No matter how good or bad this pig looked, it was clear that no woman would want to be with him if he didn't change. Even Tsunade said she would rather be with the cold-blooded killer Orochimaru than be with this guy and his nonsense, but he didn't get the hint and kept acting like a pig. Naruto, a man should respect himself and stick to his values, Jiraiya said in a serious voice. Naruto's eye started to twitch. Wise pervert, don't try to defend what can't be defended. What you're doing is defending the fact that you have no morals. Naruto was told to stop, but he didn't care and got ready to start his physical training. With his new body, he no longer needed to sleep. He stopped training his body to eat and sneak into the Hyuga clan. Master, Tsunade is back to being a young woman. If you don't get serious and keep talking nonsense, someone else will fill your spot. Naruto warned Jiraiya, who looked scared, and then started training. A half-month later, Naruto was training when one of his clones went missing and he got information about what happened. Naruto let out a sigh because the Akatsuki was attacking the arena. It looked like they had already caught the idiots who wouldn't go along with their plan. Still, Naruto had already thought of this. The Bij aren't known for being helpful, so they weren't an important part of his plan. He had given up on them and was now only watching Gaara and the Eight Tails. When he was with Gaara, he was following his clone who was pretending to be an assistant. This clone made another clone and undid himself to send him information. Naruto had also shown who the traitor was among the arena ninja, making it hard for Akatsuki to get into the arena. Because of what they did together, his friendship with Gaara had also grown. Naruto sighed because Akatsuki had already started to move when they attacked the arena. They were even brave enough to attack a village, so he couldn't just do nothing. He had to kill them all before they started the fourth ninja war or broke the blade. Naruto disappeared from his training ground and showed up on a sand wall next to a sand-covered Gaara. This was Shukaku's chakra mode, and the difference in Gaara's power was clear as a kilometer-high wave of sand chased a white clay bird that tried to get into the village but failed. Deidara, a blonde ninja with long hair and a bun, was sitting on the clay bird. Naruto could see Sasori use his scorpion puppet from afar. I think it would be easier for you to face the puppet master. You should let me deal with the explosive guy, Naruto said. Gaara nodded when he got there and rose up in a cloud of sand to go to Sasori. The wave of sand that was chasing Deidara went away. On the wall, hundreds of arena ninja were getting ready to attack Deidara with ballistas when Naruto appeared. They were shocked, and then they watched as their Kazekage, who was protecting the wall from enemies, left to fight another enemy. Naruto also left his place and showed up above the sand that Gaara used to fly, which was the target of Deidara. Deidara got angry when he saw that Gaara ignored him and went to get Sasori. Deidara was a great ninja. He was once considered for the position of Cage of the Rock, but he knew his flaws and didn't want to be noticed. Naruto went into Sage mode, made a chakra needle covered in lightning, and fired it at Deidara, who was already 200 meters away and sending out a flock of clay pigeons to attack. But the needle went through both of them, making a tunnel that led to Deidara's right shoulder. With Sage mode on and two doors open, it was hard for Naruto to avoid those needles. Deidara couldn't avoid them because he wasn't a physical ninja and was flying on one of his jutsus. Deidara started to fall because of the blow, but even though he was badly hurt, he didn't lose control, and his bird rushed to pick him up. At that moment, Naruto came up behind him and grabbed him by the neck. With his left hand, he pulled out Orochimaru's sword and cut Deidara's arms and legs. The second one screamed, but there was no blood because Naruto was also a medical ninja and covered his wounds. As they fell, 4 clones of Naruto appeared and put chakra seals on Deidara's body. They then disappeared and reappeared next to Gaara, who hadn't started fighting Sasori yet because his fight with Deidara only took 3 seconds, 1 to throw the needle and 2 to catch and seal him. During the needle attack, Naruto also sent out a space move seal, which tagged Deidara and then used a space move to trap him. "Your space movement jutsu has improved," Gaara said when he saw that the needle had his seal on it. Naruto smiled, took out another needle, and threw it at Sasori. When Sasori saw what happened to Deidara, he ran away quickly, making copies of himself and running in 10 different directions. The chakra needle didn't hit any of the clones. Instead, it went into the sand between 2 of them. A second later, Sasori crawled out of the arena as the chakra needle destroyed the scorpion puppet he was using. Even though the needle was half a kilometer away, it was an electromagnetic shot that could travel more than 10 kilometers. Sage mode didn't let Sasori hide, so making clones wasn't going to help him. When Sasori left the arena, they were behind him in a second, even though he had only run 20 meters. "You can have it," Naruto said with a smile. Gaara smiled, and several tons of sand fell on Sasori, who had nowhere to go. His puppet was broken into pieces. Ninjas like Gaara, who used big attacks, had no chance against Sasori. "Yes, please," Naruto said this as 4 of his clones took the container where Sasori was holding himself and Deidara, who was still hanging from Sasori's left hand, and sealed it. Gaara used his sand, which turned into several copies of Sasori, to gather the pieces of his body. He then brought them to his side. When they got back together, Naruto led them all to the walls of the sand village, and the ninja who hadn't done anything cheered at how easy it was to win. Gaara said, "Thank you for telling me about the advisor's betrayal. If they had been able to sneak in, this would have been harder." "It's always a pleasure to work with you, Brother Panda," said Naruto. "Don't call me Brother Panda," Gaara growled, almost shouting. This made him feel a little embarrassed, so he cleared his throat. "Now I'm the Kasekage," Gaara said. Naruto put the hand he didn't need on Gaara's shoulder. "Brother Panda, tell Shukaku that if he wants his own body, he can come see me," Naruto said, and he and one of his clones, who was carrying the shell of what was left of Sasori, left the place. Gaara tried to catch him with his sand, but it didn't work because he was already gone, leaving behind his clone dressed as Gaara's assistant. Surely, he would hear her complaints. Naruto didn't go to the Leaf Village. Instead, he showed up 10 kilometers from a city made of metal where it always rained. This was the Rain Village, where Nagato, the current leader of the Akatsuki, lived and where their headquarters were. Naruto was still in Sage mode and didn't try to hide himself, so a sensor ninja like Nagato could tell right away that he was there. Naruto opened 6 of the 8 gates and kept them open so they wouldn't hurt him. He then focused his chakra to make 10,000 copies of himself. Conan took a look at the screen that Nagato had made. It showed a large group of ninja in front of his village. The ninja was a young blonde man wearing the sash and white robe of a blade Jnin. The robe looked like a doctor's, but it had flames and the word root on the back. The most interesting thing about this ninja was that his eyes were fluorescent in the middle and black on the outside. "Yes, that's him," Nagato said. "Naruto Uzumaki," Zetsu said. "It looks like an army," Tobi said with a smile. Everyone in the room, including Conan, knew who he was, but he kept playing. Conan didn't like him and thought he wasn't being honest with them, but Nagato trusted him, so Conan followed Nagato. Conan looked at Nagato, who was lying down on something that was both a throne and a chair. He was left like that after calling on the god of death, but he could control other bodies to fight thanks to his large amount of chakra and his Rinnegan. "It sounds like I'm the only one who can take care of this guest," Tobi said with more seriousness in his voice. Tobi wasn't very tall and didn't look intimidating, but his skills made him almost impossible to beat. Conan had to realize that he was the best person to fight Naruto, since his main skill was a jutsu that moved him through space. From what they knew about Naruto, in addition to the Kyuubi mantle, he could also use a space movement jutsu. This would make it hard for any ninja other than Tobi to beat him. As Tobi talked, he vanished and reappeared in front of Naruto's army, where he faced them with his usual calm and good-natured attitude. But the Jinchuriki didn't seem to be in the mood, as shown by the fact that the clones were holding the head trunk of Deidara and what was left of Sasori. Toby gave a salute, but the Jinchuriki attacked before he could say anything. Conan knew that he couldn't win with physical attacks. After the Jinchuriki hit him, Toby rolled for a whole kilometer, and when he stopped, it looked like all of his bones were broken. 4 copies of the Jinchuriki were already locking him up. Nagato and Zetsu were just as shocked as Conan was. Toby was the only ninja she thought was a threat to Nagato in this world. He had just been defeated by a ninja whose feats were made possible by Kurama's strength, but who was not using it now. Toby fell with a single blow. Even with my skills, I could only count 5 hits, and I'm sure I missed at least 3 hits for everyone I saw. Nagato said, I can't believe there is a ninja in this world with such a high level of taijutsu. Conan was stunned. How could something like that happen? She would swear that Toby only took 1 hit, but Nagato's senses were 1,000 times better than hers, and he said that Toby took at least 15 hits. He was a monster, and the fact that the Jinchuriki hadn't used the power of his beej yet had to be taken into account. The clones who locked Toby up joined the clone army, which now had 3 prisoners instead of 2. Conan knew what to do at this point. Could we talk? Naruto said, I don't want to fight with a fellow disciple before we try to understand each other. No, Nagato. It's a trap, send the 6 paths, Conan said. She didn't like this Naruto, because he didn't seem like he was being honest. He was just trying to scare them. Nagato thought about something for a few seconds. Come if you can, Nagato said without using any skills or jutsu. Conan got a chill down her spine. Nagato thought that the Jinchuriki were watching them just as much as they were watching the Jinchuriki. That meant the Jinchuriki was a sensor ninja, and based on what he said, he knew who they were, which is how he knew they were there. The Jinchuriki nodded, and a space whirlpool formed in front of them, showing the Jinchuriki and 4 of his clones holding Toby, Deidara, and what was left of Sasori. Welcome, Nagato said with an angry face. Conan jumped in front of him to protect him from the Jinchuriki. Nagato wasn't a ninja who specialized in taijutsu, and the Jinchuriki had already shown how fast they could move. There was no way he could stop a surprise attack. Thank you, Naruto said. I'm Naruto Uzumaki, and I'm here to offer you peace. But first, I think I should tell you some truths, Naruto said. We have our own way to find peace, but you can talk as much as you want, Nagato said. Conan thought that he was in a hurry to put the bodies he controlled in place, while Zetsu stayed still. He looked at Naruto. Before you say anything, we'll get rid of the rats, Naruto said. Zetsu tried to escape by filtering through the floor, but Conan could see that he fell into a space whirlpool like the ones Toby used. Nagato, who had also seen that Zetsu had been taken, asked, What have you done with him? I put him in a dimension I made and locked it up, Naruto said. He is a spy for someone else. Madara and Obito Uchiha were just his puppets, Naruto said. Naruto told them that Nagato's eyes were like Madara Uchiha's, that Toby had taken his place, and that Zetsu and his subordinate had tricked them into thinking that the infinite Tsukuyomi would bring peace to the world. What you told me doesn't change anything. It just proves that my plan to bring peace to the world through pain is the only way to get real peace, Nagato said, and his 6 ways appeared in the room. No, you'll only cause destruction and death, plunging the world into a circle of pain. That's not peace, that's a tragedy, Naruto said, which surprised them both because he seemed to know Nagato's plan. Yes, I know everything about you, including what you did before I met Jiraiya. I'm in charge of the leaf root, and unlike my predecessor, I'm looking out for the village's enemies. However, I don't think you really want to go through with these stupid plans. Your plan for peace didn't work, and a lot of your friends have died. You feel like you don't have a way forward, which I can understand. Come, let's go. Naruto said with confidence, I have a better plan for peace. What plan? Nagato asked in a cold voice. Take over. I'll take over all the countries, get rid of the feudal lords, and set up a new government based on meritocracy. From the leaders who come out of this, I'll set up democracy. So, there will be no more wars, and even the ninja villages will eventually be gone. This will help this chaotic world grow and move forward into the future, Naruto said. Nagato didn't answer. Instead, he just looked at the screen, where Naruto's army of clones was. You might be able to take over a ninja village with that, but I can do the same thing, and I don't dare say I'll take over all the countries and kill all the feudal lords, Nagato said. Naruto gave a nod. He looked at the 6 paths and said, that makes sense, because you are too weak. Your power and mine aren't even close, Naruto said, and when Nagato gritted his teeth, he made a move that opened a portal. But it wasn't a twisted whirlpool. The other side could be seen and even felt. Conan sputtered. Behind the portal, there were more than 1,000,000 clones, and each of them gave off a scary feeling. Right now, I can make 50,000 copies of myself every day. 10,000 are used for training, and the other 40,000 are kept in storage. My clones don't go away. Each day, they get their chakra back the same way I do, and then they go into a dormant state. They can stay that way forever because, in a general sense, they are made of chakra and this chakra keeps them alive. If they can charge and heal themselves, there's nothing stopping me from putting them in storage. But what makes me a god in this world is that each of my clones, when they get their chakra back, can make another 50,000 clones. Those clones can get their chakra back in just one day, and each of them can make 50,000 more clones. Each one of them can make the most of my jutsus and skills. Now that you know all of this, tell me, do you think anyone in this world is strong enough to ignore my will? Do you think anyone can stop me from making the world a peaceful place? Naruto asked, his eyebrows raised. As the space hole closed, Conan turned away from Nagato. It didn't matter. There was no reason to act like I could beat this ninja. Nagato had given up as well, but he wasn't sad at all. Kanan hadn't seen Nagato smile since Yahiko was alive. Nagato asked, what do you want from us? First of all, I want you to give me a sample of your eyes, Naruto said, holding out his hand to show how his skin bubbled and turned into a substance that jumped on Nagato and spread all over his body. Even though the substance covered Nagato's whole body and ate up Nagato's death god throne, he didn't fight it. Kanan asked, what is that? With some worry, even though he knew the man didn't mean to hurt Nagato. I came up with it by studying the slugs of the bone forest, some special bloodlines, and biological things from our own world called retroviruses. With this, I don't have to go to my lab to take samples, study them, and get results. I can just use my own body, Naruto said. After an hour, the strange jutsu was gone from Nagato, and he looked the same as he did before he called the god of death. Conan looked at the 6 paths and saw that they had not changed. I used Hashirama cells to make his body better able to adapt to the Rinnegan, Naruto said as the strange substance returned to his body. Kanan didn't get it. He thought Naruto would keep Nagato's eyes, but that wasn't the case. As the strange substance went back into Naruto's body, his eyes began to change. The black part of his eyes got Rinnegan lines, but they were silver instead of black. Since the white part in the middle of the eye was still there, it looked like the Rinnegan was just an extra thing. Nagato also noticed it, and she, too, knew that Naruto had just gotten even stronger. Nagato and the 6 paths all got on their knees. Conan looked like them. Nagato, Conan, as of today, I will be the god of this world, and I won't care about anything. You will be my representatives, my emperors, and it will be your job to keep the peace by leading my armies, Naruto said. Nagato replied, we won't fail. We won't fail, Kanan said, feeling that Yahiko's wish for peace would finally come true and be within their reach. Naruto nodded and put out his hand to them. She and Nagato took it, and all of a sudden they were in a desert. When they got there, Naruto let go of her hand and turned around to use his chakra. He brought up the Gedo Mazo without using any seals to call it up. My lord, we've already caught 2 beej. Naruto said, raising his hand. These things are only for you to see so you can learn more about me, Naruto said. He appeared at the head of the statue, bent down, and touched it. Then he raised his hand slowly and pulled a soul out of it. Conan knew that he was using one of Pain's 6 paths to take the target's soul and absorb it, which would give him all of the target's memories and knowledge but also kill it. He didn't know how he was able to take a soul out of the Gedo Mazo. Nagato seemed surprised to see that the statue was shaking and that the soul Naruto took from it was a woman with pale skin and white eyes, like those of the Hyuga clan. The woman's soul fought against the power of the Rinnegan more than any other soul Conan had ever seen, but in the end, she gave in and was absorbed. Naruto looked at her for a few seconds, then made a face. He complained, shrugging his shoulders and putting his hand back on the statue's head. The thing that had healed Nagato's wounds before spread over her as Naruto looked at her to see what she could do. Conan asked Nagato, "Is it possible to get skills from the 10 tails?" Both of them were still on their knees. "I don't know, but if anyone can do it, it's him," Nagato said as the substance seemed to grow and started to cover the Gedo Mazo statue, which she and Nagato knew was the body of the 10 tails. The statue tried to resist by shaking and moving, but clones appeared everywhere and put seals on it, which stopped it from moving and made it immobile. At this point, Naruto was almost a god thanks to his clone jutsu, and the statue was empty. If the others weren't there, it couldn't even absorb the bice inside. He could not stop Naruto from doing anything to him. Naruto and his clones locked up the statue for a whole day while it cried out in pain. This made Conan realize that what Naruto wanted to do was not good for the 10 tails. After another day, the statue was completely covered, and the next day, it started to come apart and join Naruto's body. Conan and Nagato both knew that Naruto wasn't trying to seal the 10 tails inside of him. Instead, the 10 tails had been eaten by that strange substance and were now joining Naruto's body. After an hour, he was floating at the same level as where the statue's head used to be. He looked at them and took a step toward them, coming up in front of them. Conan couldn't tell if he used the body flicker, moved in space, or just took a step. She couldn't see or understand anything about him, and based on Nagato's shocked face, neither could he. "I'm very tired, my body's chakras are full, and I need to go rest. But as the servants I chose to be my representatives in this world, I will give you a gift," he said, pointing to their foreheads. Conan found out about a reincarnation technique. In this world, you have to pay a very high price to live forever. This price is not worth it. I'll teach you this reincarnation jutsu so that you can come back to life after you die. You just have to engrave this jutsu on a suitable body. Don't worry about this body. I'll make a copy of you and give it to you so you can mark it and keep it in stasis until you no longer need it or if something terrible happens and you die, Naruto said. They could only bow their heads because they were still on their knees. He was like a god. They went back to the safe room where Nagato used to hide when Naruto tapped them on the shoulder. Even though it had been a few days, the 6 paths and the clones with their lord's prisoners were still there. "I'm leaving for now. When everything is ready to start peace, I'll talk to you," his master told him, and he and his clones vanished. "We will wait for your orders," Nagato said as he bowed toward where he had gone. He looked like he used to when he was hopeful. Kanan didn't understand why Nagato was crying. He had new hope for peace, but he still had a lot of work to do. "Once our Lord sends that clone, death will no longer be nothing to me, and I will be able to use the outer path without fear of dying," Nagato said. When Conan understood what he meant, he lost the strength in his legs and started crying like a child. Yahiko was coming back. Nagato could use the Rinnegan to bring him back, and the reincarnation jutsu would keep him from dying. "My lord will never tell me something I don't agree with." Conan swore with all his strength. Naruto went back to his lab to take in Sasori, Deidara, and Toba's souls and memories. Naruto killed all of them, but he took Toba's eye out before killing him because he wanted to give it to Kakashi. At the time, that was what Obito wanted. Naruto closed his eyes after he had absorbed the souls and learned important things from them. He opened them a minute later, which turned on the sage mode of the 6 paths. He reached out and used all of his chakras to make a sphere that looked for the truth. Now that he knew what Obito, Sasori, and Deidara knew and had fought and learned jutsu, he didn't need anything else. Naruto smiled, and before he rested and got his chakra back, he took a sample of Deidara's bloodline, which let him make the explosive clay jutsu. Since he already knew everything he needed to know, all he needed was his bloodline. After he was done, Naruto went to the top floor of his lab, where he found a room that was 1 kilometer long and 10 kilometer high. In 6-path Sage mode, there were clones everywhere. With the Rinnegan, he could talk to his clones in real time, so he didn't have to change the clones to learn from them or get information from them. As each clone was a server for his own brain, this made his ability to learn and store information millions of times bigger. When Naruto got to the floor, he sat in the middle on an iron throne, which was made of the chakra-conducting metal Nagato used to control the 6 paths. As soon as Naruto sat down, the metal began to take chakra from the hundreds of thousands of clones in the room, which were constantly giving it off, and give it to him at the same time. Naruto was getting his chakra back as fast as a god, even though he had over 1 million clones to charge. Naruto frowned when an old man with horns walked up to him. This was a ghost that tried to get into his mind and stopped him from thinking. "You're brave, old man," Naruto told him. If this old man had tried to get into his mind, he could have killed him because he could absorb his soul with the Rinnegan. The old man, whose name was Agoromo Otsutsuki, looked uncomfortable and cleared his throat. "I'm sorry, young man. I'm Agoromo Otsutsuki, and my son Asura's soul used to be in your body. He called me because you need my help to bring his power back to life," Agoromo said. "Yes, I could feel a familiarity in his soul," Naruto said as an excuse for not assimilating it, but the real reason was that he knew this old man could give him more power if he let him live. If he had been a stranger, Naruto would have made him his own, and if he had killed him by accident, he could have brought him back to life with the outer way of the Rinnegan. Death no longer scared him, and as he talked to the old man, his clones were already making thousands of copies of him that he would mark as backups for his soul in case they ever destroyed his current body. This was a mix of Orochimaru's way of coming back to life and the way the Otsutsukis made bodies for him in record time. Agoromo smiled and looked him over from head to toe. "Young man, you have a lot of power, and I don't know how you got it. I'm even surprised you were able to change your body into that of a Jubi," Agoromo said, trying to find out more. Naruto gave a shoulder shrug. "Old man, I don't plan to share what I know, but I think you're more interested in finding out what my goal is," Naruto said. Agoromo nodded, and Naruto made a mental link with him so he could tell him all about the Otsutsuki's arrival without telling him where he came from. "When they get here, I'll make sure they're taken care of," Naruto said with a smile. He already had all the power he could want in his hands. The only thing left for him to do was to absorb all the bloodlines of this world into his body and study all their jutsus. This would take him decades, but he wasn't in a hurry because he already had the most powerful jutsus. Agoromo also made a happy face. "With the power you have now, awakening Asura's power in your soul won't make much of a difference, but my knowledge of the sage mode of the 6 paths might save you some time," said Agoromo. Naruto had already made his own 6-way sage mode, but this old man's experience and Kaguya's knowledge couldn't compare to his because she didn't have access to the Rinnegan. "I'll take it," Naruto said, and the old man taught her everything he knew about the sage mode of the 6 paths, as well as the jutsu for making everything, and he woke up the power of Asura in her soul. But, as he said himself, the power increase was not very big. Once he was done teaching Naruto and waking up the power of the Asura in him, Agoromo went back to his own world, and Naruto changed everything to fit his clones. The most valuable thing he got from Agoromo was the jutsu of creating all things, which, as its name suggests, could turn chakra into real things. This, along with everything else he knew, made him a god who could control reality and make anything he wanted, as long as his chakra or divine energy let him. Naruto smiled, because the Otsutsukis couldn't be dead anymore. They would become part of him and give him new skills and power. Naruto had already charged his chakra after an hour. Now, all that was left for him to do was change this world so he wouldn't wake up one day and find that he had spent 3 years trying to kill himself, only to wake up in a desert with no life. That would be a terrible thing to do.
So that's it for today. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe to the channel for more awesome stories like this. Thank you. See you all in my next video.